I'm going to get Kit Daniels to pop in about 20 minutes to go over a story he's written that's up on Infowars.com, where we have a feminist coming out and saying, I aborted my baby because he was male. Feminist said she didn't want to bring another monster into the world. So we're going to be breaking that report down. Meanwhile, AP has the story, Ohio girl 11 charged with murder in 2-month-old's death. Ohio girl 11 charged with murder in 2-month-old's death killed another girl. How could it be that a girl could kill a girl or do something wrong? This idea that men and women aren't the same species, that we aren't on the same team, and they somehow turn chivalry on its head where they have men all over the world, but especially in the West, apologizing for being male as if we did something wrong. You don't see male meerkats apologizing. You don't see male whales apologizing. You don't see other mammals, mongooses, apologizing. This is how aliens would take over a society, by turning men and women against each other to divide and conquer. And they sell it as chivalrous to hate yourself, chivalrous that men are bad and men are disempowered, as if disempowering men empowers women. Real men and real women that are healthy know that men build up women and women build up men, and that men love their daughters as much as they love their sons or more, and that women love their sons probably more than their daughters. That's usually how it turns out. Men statistically will end up doing more, giving more money, fighting harder for daughters, and mothers will end up fighting harder for sons. This is how it all balances out as a tribal system, a unit. But you annihilate the meerkat mound where we're wide open to the globalist cobras to come and snack on us whenever they want, to use that allegory. When you break up the male and the female, there's no longer a nuclear nest. Now you're wide open for programming and globalist assimilation into the Google Borg. And that is the plan. But the good news is folks are striking back in a big, big way. Governor Jindal, you can say what you want about Governor Jindal. The video's up on Infowars.com. It's a Daily Caller article. But what he's saying is very true and very accurate. Jindal unveils national plan to repeal Common Core. It's a 3.5-minute clip. We're going to play it. Then we're going to get into all the other news. Things in Ukraine are really heating up. Did a nuke go off? That's what some people think. We're going to look at that story. We're going to look at the economy. Record snow hitting the Northeast. Part of the global warming, they say. So, again, pay Al Gore money. He'll fix all of it. We've got another bizarro story. Good news. Charges dismissed against man arrested for drinking iced tea. So that's coming up as well today. And if you listen carefully, the bankers are actually telling us what is going to happen next. And we've got Harry Dent joining us to look at the global economic collapse. More and more mainline analysts say it's imminent. Are you ready for the Dow at 6,000? I'm not saying it's going to happen, but most of the money is on that. The question is when. And if you say, well, I don't own stock, why do I care? Because it's connected to every level of the economy in almost all these publicly traded companies. If the stock market goes from 18,000 or 19,000 down to 6,000, it is going to be just a huge event. We'll be like Spain or Greece or Ireland in deep, deep doo-doo. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't have the tourist industry in most areas of the country like Ireland or Greece or Spain do. I hate to say it, but just the U.S. is not as interesting across the board as places like Ireland or Spain or Greece. We just don't have the tourist dollars they have, especially with our TSA and the rest of it. People are scared to come here because we're not a free country in many respects. But I'm babbling. Let's go to some very exciting rhetoric from Governor Jindal.
We insist today that if people come into our country, they should respect the right of self-determination, religious liberty, and freedom of speech for others. Yet some of these values aren't very fashionable, according to the elite that infect our media, our government, and certainly Washington, D.C. There's nothing wrong with saying education will help us develop our economy and improve our quality of life. But fundamentally, it is about self-governance.
This is powerful speech, so the full speech is on Infowars.com. Stay with us. And this piece deals with Soylent Green and shows the mainstream news articles in medical journals where they say, let's start killing babies up to age 3. Let's start killing babies up to age 5, even if they're healthy. Let's start killing old people. Let's put the troops on secret don't treat death list. I mean, all this is really going on. And to show how far we've come, it was 5 years ago that Paul Watson found the medical journal. There's the London Telegraph. Killing babies no different from abortion, experts say. London Telegraph. That was 4 or 5 years ago. In fact, what was the date on that? Because they came out about 4 days after us in the Telegraph. So 2012. It was about 3 or 4 years ago. And back then, Paul Watson found the mainline journal. A listener sent us the tip. In the Journal of Bioethics, where they said, yeah, let's start killing kids up to age 3 and just make it the state or the parent's choice. And then so-called liberals came out, the BMJ blogs covered it, and were defending the publication of after-birth abortion. And that was in the Journal of Medical Ethics. So when this first came out, for a good 4, 5, 6 days, only DrudgeReport.com linked to our story. Now, Drudge could go to our article, see it had a link to the Bioethics Journal, and that we told the truth. We were attacked by MSNBC, by a whole bunch of other publications as liars, saying it wasn't true. Now, fast forward 4 years, and it's all over the news that, oh, yeah, we should start aborting babies after birth. This is what's crazy. And then Joe Biggs goes and does a report at UT and gets half the respondents to sign a petition to start aborting kids up to age 5. And they have the Austin American-Statesman, Fact Checker, and all these other publications do an article saying we're wrong, there is no move to start killing babies after birth. See, so they want it both ways. There is a world government, but there isn't a world government. Yes, vaccines can damage you, but that's a conspiracy theory. They can't, even though the insert says it. They play these games, hoping you don't go look at the facts. So I've got all this world news I'm going to get to, but first I wanted to talk about this dehumanization, because when you go to the so-called feminist websites, these are anti-human websites. They've gotten women to hate their own species and to turn against their own species, and it's a cult of hating men and hating other women that they can't control. And it's a group of women given media power, you name it, university power, to sit up there and try to bully women into not being barefoot and pregnant. And by the way, if women want to be rocket scientists or engineers or PhDs, more power to you. There's always been women like that. But biologically, at least in certain times in women's lives, they want to be barefoot and pregnant. They're as happy as a pig and you know what. And daddy gets real happy. He gets real fat. The kids are happy. Every statistic shows that's a very happy family. That's how humans have always been designed. That's what we do. And that's being dismantled by the same military-industrial complex that told us cigarettes were good for our lungs. They're lying to us. But now the extrapolation ends up being, you can't say brown bag day, that's racist. You can't have men do good at sports or anybody win at sports because that makes somebody else feel bad. This is cult-like beyond Brave New World, beyond 1984, beyond the trial by Kafka. This is beyond the most hardcore dystopic literature nightmares dreamed up by people that lived in the Soviet Union or were in the Soviet Union or who fought against the Soviet Union or who fought against or lived under fascism. Books like We and the Trial and 1984 come out of first-hand experiences of dehumanization. And if we can get women to ever wake up to this fact about how key they are to everything, they can re-empower humanity. But they've been sabotaged. Men have been sabotaged as well. And so if we can ever get women to realize the scientific mind control they're under, that might as well be deployed by an alien species. I mean, that's how scientific it is. Then we could save the human race, because we're all in this together.
Everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
Now, I came in here this morning, saw the article that Kit Daniels had written dealing with feminist bragging that she had aborted her male baby after she saw the ultrasound because he was, quote, a monster, and that she wasn't going to bring another monster into the world. This shows the extremely sick mindset of these people. Now, it's important to understand that when you go read the article, feminist, I aborted my baby because he was male, and we link through to the feminist website pushing this, the so-called liberal website pushing this, that these are the people that say, turn your guns in, they're killing children. Let us have socialist health care, it's for the children. Do everything because we love you, and we are the ultimate level of compassion and authority, and all of you are guilty and bad. You're either male, or you're white, or you are middle class, or something. Or you're straight, or you're divide, and conquer. They are waging war on normal individual actions that are a threat to the globalist assimilation. They had the Canadian government study 3 years ago where they found environmentalists were 6 times more likely to steal than conservatives, and to not give to charity. Because they're not environmentalists. There are real environmentalists out there that care about our creeks and rivers and streams and oceans and forests. Those are called conservationists. Their movement's been hijacked by eugenicists who then make it all about how humans are bad, and all these PSAs, never what do humans do that's good, what do humans do that's bad. Never a discussion of open-air GMO planting. Never a discussion of tens of thousands of cross-species chimera creations that are now loose in the oceans. Like these super salmon that within 40 generations will extinct the normal population, major university study. There are thousands of red level crises, fission fusion, artificial black holes, teleportation systems they're developing where they are teleporting molecules and things now, where a lot of top scientists are openly warning it could cause a strangelet, a space rip, black hole, and a whole host of other little nasties. Whole host of little nasties that we see coming out of the Hadron Superconducting Supercollider and other more classified facilities. So backing away from this, ladies and gentlemen, this is a group of anti-human trash. And just earlier, I showed you the mainstream news article headlines and read them out on air for radio listeners, where Pepsi's flavoring system is based on dead babies. Most of the vaccines are made out of dead babies. That is, it's grown on dead baby tissue. And you're getting all the weird viruses and bacteria and DNA and RNA and mitochondrial mutations. I mean, it's just crazy. And you've just got this dehumanization going on where it's now a year-old news that they've got secret death panels for veterans. And now they've got a computer called Watson from IBM deciding who gets care and who doesn't. So they go from denying it a year ago to going, yeah, we do have it, but don't worry, a computer makes the decision. Do you know what they called the machines they had in Nazi Germany? They were called 3 different things. They were called Holleriths, they were called IBM and then its number, Watsons and the number of the machine. The death camp machines were called Watsons. Can't make that up. Holleriths, IBM, they were all IBMs. You can't make that up. And those machines, they put in your calories, your weight, your height, your age, and then it would decide, do we just shoot you right away? Do we starve you to death and work you to death? And they do all these quack measurements of your head and your nose and everything else and go, well, you're not a Slav, or you're not a Jew, or you're not something else. You're not, Asian or African. This shows you're really an Aryan off your measurements, so we're not going to kill you. In fact, tens of thousands of Jews that were put in forced labor camps would then be reassigned because the machine said don't kill them. Now, in 2015, it's been going on since 2014, there is a machine called Watson from the same company deciding which U.S. veterans to not give treatment to. Soylent Green is made out of people. But it's the hatred of humanity. It's one thing if the globalists have stolen the planet and they think it's theirs, and they've been doing this for generations, and they plan to slowly poison everybody, dumb us down, and then kill us. But the fact that they get fellow traveler women to come out and to say, I found out I was pregnant with a boy and I killed him because I'm not bringing a monster into the world. Well, lady, you're the monster. You're the mentally ill monster on such a hateful power trip that you, I mean, I have fought and fought and fought, and Christians have fought and others have fought to make sure that 40-something million more, that's how many they've already aborted, in China or infanticided after they're born. It turned out it was an IMF, World Bank, UN program going on since the 50s to get the Chinese to sit there and cull their population. One child didn't really start in the 70s like they claim. Our government made a deal with them, backdoor, and they've killed tens upon tens of millions of little girls. I can't imagine being so twisted to go, oh, they're girls, so it's okay because I'm a male chauvinist. It's crazy how twisted these people are. So Kit Daniels is in there in the control room. He wrote this story. It's linked through to the liberal injusticestories.com, the liberal feminist website. And you read this stuff, it sounds like a bizarre Portlandia episode where she's just using all these university terms that they throw around about how it's this male-dominated, centric society, and we've got to get rid of it by culling the men. I mean, hey, lady, society's been culling men forever, since the days of Pharaoh, since the days of the Babylonians, since the days of the ancient Greeks. People knew that the males, when their numbers got too high, had to be done away with because they might become the new ruling group. And it was always old men sending the young men off to die. So that's all you've done, since you act like you're such a pseudo-intellectual, lady, is you've just adopted the program of Plato about how they first had to get the women under their control, then they could domesticate the other men and then cull them like cattle when needed. And rulers would get together for thousands of years, but this is documented in the War of the Roses and others, and say, we're having uprisings here in France, we're having uprisings in England, it's time for a war. And then they would just have a war. And then they would march their troops up to kill each other. And really, they were just wiping out part of the population. So the population would learn to hate the French, and they would learn to hate the British. When meanwhile, in most of the wars, the elites were simply culling their numbers. Now, the Aztecs were more sophisticated. You've actually got to hand it to them. They completely ritualized war with neighboring kingdoms. In some cases, thousands of miles away. They would march and then go into Central America. Or folks would march up from Central America or from Central North America down to Southern North America and have big battles. And how do they know when to have the battles? It was all astrological. Sometimes it would be over 100 years before they would have one, and then they would have these ritualized battles saying the earth needs the blood of the warriors, and so we're going to wipe everybody out here. And then we'll bind some women and children and throw them into cenote pits to the water gods and to the deity of the woman's womb. And then we'll cut some hearts out to the sun god over here, to the winged serpent, on and on and on. So we're seeing a repeat of all of this. So don't worry, feminist. Don't worry. There's a reason the population of the world is only 45% male. And 51% of births are female. Despite all of China's culling of women, mammals have more female offspring than they have male. Because the truth is, if you get into the genetics, the male is just basically like a warrior model of a female without a uterus. Bigger bones, more aggressive. And then the female basically is the species. So you guys are true jackasses when it comes to these attempts to dehumanize yourselves. You attack men, you attack yourself. Men attack women, you attack yourself. And I have no guilt. I will not be part of this mental illness. I've done nothing to women but empower them and take care of them and work with them. And I enjoy taking care of women. I enjoy being sweet to women. I enjoy empowering women. And they like empowering me. And that's the kind of women I want in my life. Not the parasitic, twisted, sociopathic, psychopathic types that think it's okay. Most criminals have a rationale. When the Aryan nations or other groups have been out caught engaged in criminal activity, they always have an excuse how they were doing. Or when black gangs or Hispanic gangs, go out and, kill somebody of another so-called race, it's because, well, they deserved it. And that's all the feminists are, is a criminal gang. Paul Watson calls it third wave feminism. Look, it's feminism. Feminism was started to look legitimate, to empower women. On the surface, it was never meant to do that. Edward Bernays wrote about that in the 20s. One of the pioneers of it. It was meant to shackle women and enslave them to the state, and it's been done. That's a fact. So it isn't, and I'm not just disagreeing with Watson here. Watson puts out articles I disagree with. He puts out ideas and, things that I don't agree with. He thinks something isn't a hoax. I think it is a hoax. Paul's really smart. But I want to explain something. If I openly say I disagree with something one of my writers wrote, or I disagree with one of the nuances on air, it's not a diss or under the bus statement. It's not a unified cult up here at Infowars.com where it's my way or the highway and everyone has to totally agree with me, because my views change day to day as I get more information. But it's the mere fact that people are even uncomfortable openly debating someone else or think that if I disagree with something that, say, Kurt Nemo's written, that then I somehow am attacking him. That's not the case. We're not a cult. We love liberty. We love freedom. We love truth. We love justice. We love not having a nuclear war. We love prosperity. We love common sense. That's who I hire. Smart people that love common sense and recognize monsters when they see them, who sit up there lecturing us like they're God. Bossy control freaks that are so bossy, they had the First Lady come out last year and say, don't use the word bossy because it refers to women. Well, yeah, there is an archetype of the bossy control freak, out of control woman. Just like there's an archetype of the bossy, out of control freak male. What all these are is wannabe dominant women that don't dominate with their beauty or their art or their love or their compassion or with their hard work. They dominate henpecking men and other women into saying they're the boss. Well, guess what, Hillary? You ain't the boss. Guess what, Michelle? You're not my boss. You're criminal scum parasites that want to sell women on hating their sons. You're sick freak filth. How dare you try to break up the human community? It's anti-humanism. It's anti-familyism. Whatever word you want to use it. It's psychic death. Joining us is Kit Daniels to talk about his article. Kit, I aborted my baby because it was a boy is the headline. And they're very proud of themselves hailing this. They're there to push the Overton window. They're there to condition us to accept anything. And I guess we will. If they say it's liberal, we'll put a 25-year-old soldier or sailor on a death list to not give them treatment for kidney failure. And I guess if it's a boy, it's okay, Kit.
Yeah, throughout history, tyrants have attempted to dehumanize the population in order to replace God with the state. And that's why we see this destruction of our rights, because if they can treat us like slaves, then the tyrants, the politicians, they can see themselves as gods. That's why we see the destruction of the Bill of Rights right now, the destruction of the family, the destruction of prosperity, so on and so forth. And also, you mentioned earlier about the Aztec Empire. It reminded me of the fact that the Spanish Empire was able to take over these ancient empires in Central and South America.
Because they'd wiped out all their men.
Yeah, that. And also they used divide and conquer tactics, which is exactly what the establishment has done with the feminist movement ever since the 1960s with Gloria Steinem and so on and so forth.
That's right. What was it? Less than 400 conquistadors were able to conquer over 1 million people in one valley.
Yeah, I think it was even less than that in certain instances. I think there's only like 30 or 40 men taking over thousands of tribes just because they're playing off rivals of each other. And this is basically common Machiavelli statecraft. We saw the Byzantine Empire do that. That's why they survived for 1,000 years, because they were playing off their rivals within the neighboring principalities off each other. That's just a common technique.
And they do it to us, and they write books about how they're doing it to us because they think we're so stupid, Kit.
Yeah. Because unfortunately, people don't understand history. They're using the same strategies over and over again they've used for thousands of years. And this, even today with the feminist movement, they're using this divide and conquer. They're pitting women against men through feminism.
And the women that are into this really think they're not getting ahead because of men. It's like people like Bill Maher that says, I'm for death, I'm for mass death, I want to get the highway moving, but ban guns because they kill children. No, ban guns because he wants a monopoly of power. That's what the heavily armed establishment with all their bodyguards wants. But when they say clear off the highways, you move to a city because it's teeming and there's a lot of jobs. It's like a coral reef. I've used this analogy many times. You might be out in the ocean and go 10 miles before you run along a coral reef off an island. Everything else is basically dead out there. There's not a lot of life until you hit that coral reef. Now, when you hit a coral reef, you'd think, my gosh, it's overpopulated. No, the population being high is what shows you that there's a density of life, that it's healthy. And so humans say, I don't like lines. It's like a really good restaurant's hard to get into. It's because it's a really good restaurant. I mean, go out and live in a ghost town. Go out and live in the middle of nowhere, and then you'll be moving back really quick. But it's these same people that are sitting in the midst of a civilization saying they hate the very civilization that allowed them to develop, and they have all these opportunities, but instead they're spoiled brats that are so greedy that at a fundamental level they think killing people, old ladies, veterans, children, will get them ahead because then they'll get a bigger piece of the pie. They don't get the fact we could build this pie to infinity if we weren't letting the global social engineers suppress the true new technologies that we know have been developed. We're being put into a new dark age where only a tiny elite will have access to all of this incredible technology, not just life extension, but nanotech, the list. I mean, it's incredible, but they won't let us have it because they want to go ahead and set up the world government, cull our numbers, dumb us down who's left to basically toy with us. It's such a sick plan. Talk about what this feminist breaks down in her story that's being hailed by liberals as just ambrosia. I mean, it comes down to let's kill men. Men are fundamentally bad. Men are the problem. This is the sick cult we're dealing with.
Well, yeah, she's broadcasting this kind of group mentality of us versus them. This is exactly what the establishment wants because they only gain power through groups because they can control groups. They can't control individuals. So in order to have a power structure, they put people in different groups and have the groups fight among each other. And they also put their own leaders in charge of the groups, like Al Sharpton, for example. So it's just this whole collectivism can only be strengthened. It can only exist through group mentality. That's unfortunately what we're seeing now.
Now, I want to try to invite this witch on the broadcast. Let's go over some of this article. Over the past 3 years, I've lost many friends, and several of my own family members have completely cut off communication with me. I know now that these are adults, close quote, who cannot handle the fact that I have the right to make choices, and these choices ultimately hardly ever affect them. She goes on to talk about killing her son. Can you imagine how unhappy and sick this person is and how they're going to feel later when they finally wake up? But see, the problem is once you make evil decisions like this, a lot of cowards, Kit, keep doubling down saying it's right and the right way to go. I mean, who in their right mind could say, I killed my baby because it was a boy?
You know, in all honesty, when I read the article, I was thinking to myself, there's a possibility that she knows she did wrong. But she's trying to rationalize it by saying, oh, well, this is good for the feminist movement. You know, this is empowering. It made me feel stronger. And by avoiding my baby, it brought out all the hate against feminism in general. And this is how future feminists should have to deal with it. So it's really sickening that
Notice she says, though, it made her stronger. Just like when a Satanist guts a baby, they say it gives them power. I mean, she is getting power from this. It takes a lot of will to consciously say, this is a boy, this is my son, and I'm going to cap his ass. Excuse my French. I mean, this is hardcore. My body's betrayal was no more. I was free. I felt strong, is her disgusting quote.
You know, I've read a lot of articles about people who they can't understand, they can't grasp the New World Order, so on and so forth, because they have, people like you and me, we have a moral compass. So how can we possibly see transnational elites, how they operate and how they don't care about humanity when you and me don't even have that kind of reference point? And unfortunately, I think this lady is just like a tyrant because she also doesn't have a moral compass.
Oh, she is a tyrant. She had something weak and defenseless that was literally part of her soul, and then she murdered it and smashed it because it made her feel powerful. She is a demon.
Yeah, and I hope that people, they look at this article and what they take from it is the fact that this attitude that she's showing, this complete disregard for human life and for humanity, is what the most powerful people in the world are also share.
And that's right.
Exactly how they operate.
And that's totally key. Thank you, Kit Daniels. Your article's on Infowars.com. I know you're going to add some links to it, to the journals of bioethics and others promoting similar things, just so people know this is not just some aberration. This is the larger plan. We should also post that Soylent Green piece that Darren McBreen did in the article as well. Thank you so much, Kit Daniels. What he said is what this whole hour has been about. The people saying they want to take your rights because they love you. The people saying they want you defenseless because they love you. The people that say your kids belong to the state because they love you are control freaks that want you dead. Because for demons, these people, whatever you want to call them, the ultimate act is to kill another human and to have them defenseless under their power. That's what psychopaths do. And they have artificially created a lot of mentally ill people who've grown up artificially in this modern world and have no connection to reality and just follow the tenets of the anti-woman, anti-man, anti-human, anti-life Satanism that is the CIA, New World Order created feminism. And it's all declassified. Look it up for yourself. It is the ultimate way to bring down humanity.